All right, so we've all heard about quiet quitting at work, right? Doing just enough to get by. But have you ever stopped to think about what happens when that exact same vibe creeps into our friendships? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. It's a thing called social quiet quitting, and you might be doing it without even realizing.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Does your social life kind of feel like a job? When you glance at your calendar and see a hangout with friends, is your first feeling excitement? Or is it more of a quiet sigh, like, oh, another thing I have to do? If that hits a little too close to home, then yeah, you're definitely in the right place.
And honestly, this quote is just spot on. Showing up to hangouts with the same energy you bring to a Tuesday morning Zoom call? Wow. You know that feeling, right? That polite, kind of professional, but totally detached vibe? Your camera's on, you're nodding along, but are you really there? That's the heart of this whole thing. Okay, so let's get a real definition on the table. Social quiet quitting, it's not ghosting. You're not cutting ties completely. No. It's way more subtle than that. It's about being physically present in your friendships, but mentally and emotionally, you've already clocked out. You haven't quit, but you're definitely not putting in the hours anymore. So how do you know if this is you? Well, we're going to break down 6 signs that you might be quitting. Let's just see if any of these sound familiar. All right, first sign. It all starts with how you talk to each other. Your hangouts turn into what are called maintenance conversations. This is when your chats stop being about the big stuff, the dreams, the fears, the realness, and they just become status updates. You're syncing calendars, you're complaining about work, you're just keeping things afloat. You're basically maintaining the friendship, not actually growing it. Okay, number 2. This one is all about those tiny little interactions that we barely even notice. You start ignoring what are called bids for connection. Now, that's just a fancy term for any tiny little attempt a friend makes to get your attention. And when you're in this quiet quitting mode, you just let them slide. You see that text, you see that meme, you think to yourself, oh, I'll reply later. And then later just never comes. And look, a bid for connection isn't some huge grand gesture. We're talking about the little things. A random meme they send you, a quick text, a photo they share, even just a simple, hey, this reminded me of you. When you ignore those, it's kind of like hanging a closed for business sign on the friendship, even if you don't realize you're doing it. Number 3. This one's less about what you're doing and more about how you're feeling. It's this feeling of being a background character in your own social life. You know what I mean? You're at the party, but you're just there, observing. You're not really contributing, you're just kind of soaking up everyone else's energy, because creating your own feels like way too much work. You've basically become an extra in your own movie. All right, on to number 4, and this is a really big mental shift. This is when you start viewing social events differently. They stop being an opportunity for connection, and they become just another item on your to-do list. When that invitation comes through, is your first reaction excitement, or is it dread, just another logistical puzzle to solve? When hanging out with friends feels like a chore, well, that's a huge red flag. Okay, sign number 5. This one is all about getting vulnerable, or more accurately, not getting vulnerable. You've basically activated the safety lock. Think about it. You used to share all the messy, complicated stuff. But now, everything's surface level. The conversation is always safe. It's like you've put this lock on your real emotions. Because honestly, being vulnerable takes energy, and you just don't have it to give. And that brings us to our 6th and final sign. This is all about who's driving the friendship. You've started the slow fade. This is when you become totally reactive. You're not initiating plans anymore. You're not the one sending the first text. Sure, you'll reply if someone reaches out to you, but you're not putting any gas in the tank. You're just letting the friendship coast until it eventually runs out of batteries. So, after hearing all that, it's really easy to start feeling kind of bad about yourself, right? If you've been nodding along thinking, yep, that's me, you're probably asking yourself, does this just make me a bad friend? Well, let me answer that for you. No, absolutely not. This isn't about you being a bad person or a bad friend. It's a symptom. The real issue here isn't your character, it's your capacity. Your social battery is just completely drained. Look, your social battery is a real thing, and it's not infinite. And in this day and age, let's be real, it's being drained by everything. Work, stress, just the constant noise of life in 2026. This isn't really a choice you're making. It's a consequence. It's burnout, plain and simple. But here's the good news. You're not stuck here. You don't have to keep drifting. So let's talk about one really simple way to start reconnecting, a little challenge to help break the cycle. So here's the challenge, and it's super simple. We're not talking about organizing a huge get-together. Nope. Step 1, just pick one person, just one. Step 2, the very next time they send you one of those bids for connection we talked about, just respond. That's it. Engage with it. Don't let it slide. It's that tiny little action that can start to turn things around. And really, that's the question I want to leave you with. This isn't about some massive overhaul of your social life. It's about taking one tiny step,